Here's a picture where you can see some neurons, nerve cells, and there's a larger body where the nucleus is, and then we have these long, thin branches coming off of it. We have the dendrites here, and the axon somewhat bigger coming along here. So these thin parts, the dendrite is where our neuron connects to the source of a signal, wherever this particular neuron gets its signaling from, whether that might be a sensory surface, say the neurons in your skin that respond to touch, or maybe it's another neuron, but wherever it is, the dendrites are getting that, goes to the center here, and then if a signal builds up enough, it will send that signal along down the axon, and then the other end of the axon are where it connects to the neurons or other cells that will respond to that signal. You see also we have the glial cells around the neurons with all the functions they have. Okay, so those are types of tissues, 4 basic ones with noticeable variation within each one. And then we can take those tissues and organize them into more complex structures known as organs. So, different familiar organs, for example, the heart needs to have some muscle tissue for beating, but it also needs blood vessels supplying it with the blood both for it to pump and the blood that gives it its own supply of oxygen and food. Nerves for signaling, although the heart does have its own keep on beating, the heart needs to know something like, what's that? Ah! Okay, you need your heart beating faster when that happens. So the heart needs to have some nerve input there. And of course, coming back, if there's anything going wrong in the heart, the brain needs to know that and do something about it. And endothelium lining the inside of the heart as the blood goes past. In turn, we can put organs and more tissues together to make a whole organ system. And then an organism may have multiple organ systems. Humans have 11 basic organ systems. So we'll look at each of those. Now, plenty of animals have fewer than that. There are a lot of animals that are much simpler than ourselves. And we'll look at why. How do they manage without all the things that we have? So here we go. The integumentary system, our skin. The skeletal system, muscular system, nervous system, fairly familiar. Endocrine system, name may not be as familiar. This is the system of producing hormones. So it's secretion that helps regulate body processes. Hormones help generally with more long-term things versus the quick action of nerves. Cardiovascular system, or circulatory system, your heart, your blood vessels. The immune system, the lymph fluid part of the body is playing a major role in how immune things work. But also you have, unlike our other systems, a lot of the immune system is actually individual cells roaming the body rather than a single organ type of approach. Respiratory system. Breathing, that's pretty important for good health. So thinking about how those work. Digestion, of course we need some food in there as well. Urinary or excretory system, getting rid of some of the waste produced by cells. Again, of course, you have what's left over from food that the digestive system gets rid of. But also we have a separate system to get rid of some of the chemicals produced by cells, such as that leftover nitrogen that we get if we take amino acids and use them for energy. And then our 11th is the reproductive system, essential for making new individuals to continue the species. Again, all this has to work together to maintain conditions suitable for life. Homeostasis, keeping the conditions inside, whether it's us or some other organism, within the range that we need. For example, not too cold, not too hot, not too acidic, not too basic, enough oxygen, not too much, not too little, all those types of things. So we're constantly trying to maintain a proper balance, and there are all sorts of things that happen both inside and outside us that can push things away from that balance. So this is something you're always doing, trying to maintain this. There are lots and lots of different types of possible stressors that could affect you, push conditions away from homeostasis, the conditions that you want to have. Okay, what could you do about this? Okay, for any type of problem, there are 3 basic options. Conform. You might not like it so much, but just go along with it. So, for example, most marine invertebrates, if they're in water that's lower and slanty, they just kind of live with it, and they'll have less salt in them. Water that's saltier, they'll have some more salt. And so they just go along with the environment and manage, but there will be limits. Too high or too low would ultimately kill them, but within that, they can just kind of go along with the change. Then you have regulators. This means that the organism actively does things to control the pattern there. We do a lot of regulation. For example, we maintain a fairly constant body temperature. If you start having a raise in your body temperature, you get a high fever, then you'd better contact the doctors, because that's why the symptoms of the COVID virus. But we also keep from getting too cold. This is in contrast to cold-blooded animals, where temperature goes up, temperature goes down, and they're going to change their temperature a lot more, largely going along with the environment. Now, of course, there's some things that are more regulated, some less so. One organism is not going to be doing only one and not the others. Besides conforming or regulating, you've got a third option, which is go away. Find some place to be that's away from the stress and keep that from changing the conditions inside you. Temperature, familiar example. Living things, if they get too cold or too hot, well, they'll die, and they won't be doing so great if the temperature is not quite that extreme, but still not what's best for that particular organism. A lot of the reactions in the body do release energy, so we have that heat that's produced as the body is doing things. And then the environment around. If the air around it, or water, whatever it's living in, is colder than the body temperature, then the organism is going to be losing heat to the surroundings. For example, in the room right now, here, the thermostat over there claims it's 69 Fahrenheit, and of course my body temperature is higher than that. So I am losing heat to the room. If the temperature were, say, 38 Celsius, then I'd be gaining some heat from the room. Just barely, be gaining more if it were, say, 40 or 50. Wouldn't want the room temperature to be that, but unless it was sauna, something like that. No surprise, different things have different tolerance ranges. Some animals are specialized to deal with quite extreme temperatures. For example, things that can live in Antarctica tolerate very low temperature. You do have some types of animals living, say, around hot springs deep in the ocean that tolerate quite high temperatures. But most are kind of in between and don't have a huge range that they tolerate. An ectotherm means that you're getting your heat from outside, ecto. Endotherm from inside. So we are endotherms, often referred to as warm-blooded. Ectotherms, cold-blooded. Birds and mammals, familiarly, we maintain a fairly high metabolism and stay pretty warm all the time. But there are other things that can maintain their temperature at least somewhat above the surroundings, often somewhat different ways than what we think of for standard warm-blooded like ourselves.